So hopefully everybody's excited to learn some things about the new version of NetScaler. I will say that compared to maybe where we were 5 or 6 years ago, it is definitely a fast-paced age of innovation on the whole Citrix front, the NetScaler especially. And so in the past, we used to roll out of the version of the NetScaler. We used to keep it for a couple of years. Now we're seeing Citrix make some really neat innovations. And so about every 6 months, there's a big announcement. And so excited to jump in and do a webinar about Citrix's latest version, which is NetScaler 12. Okay? And so this may be something that you are familiar with. It may be something that you are looking at. Maybe something that's new to you. Some people that wake up and just find out that there is a new version of the NetScaler. Okay? So I'll go in and talk a little bit about some of the new stuff that's out there. Also talk about some of the stuff that's still new, but maybe came out in the 11.0 or the 11.1 version, and Citrix has gone in and enhanced it. So we'll go in and take a look at that. I'll try to keep the PowerPoint as brief as possible and actually get into the fun stuff where I can actually do a few demos of some of the stuff that we're going to talk about. Yeah? So really, there's kind of 4 big aspects that I want to go in and hit on. One of the things that they've done when they've come out with NetScaler 12 is they want to go in and do some better functionality. So they've got some improvements there. I also want to talk about the MAS appliance, Management and Analytics System. This is something that's really exciting, some big changes, even some big changes that have come about since April when they announced NetScaler 12 and the MAS appliance 12. Okay? And then we'll take a look at the gateway functionality and some of the stuff that's changed in the past year and a half, and some of the neat stuff that we can go in and do with it now. Okay? As far as the better functionality, okay, they've really done some neat stuff to go in and improve some of the things that we can go in and do with the NetScaler. And so they've got some cool functionality that has been a part of the NetScaler, but really they're going in and kind of taking that a few steps further. For instance, SSL. Okay? There's a lot of people that are using the NetScaler for SSL offload. And so you're bringing your traffic in across the internet, you're going in and having the NetScaler do the encryption and decryption for you. And that has been, in some cases, a big benefit to what we can do with the NetScaler. If you're not aware of it, they've got a hardware version and a software version of NetScaler, so you can go in and stand up a virtual machine. So you just go in and download it, put it on your hypervisor of choice, and it gives you NetScaler functionality, including SSL offload. You can also purchase a NetScaler as hardware, put it in a rack, cable it up, and get that same benefit. One of the big benefits to the hardware version has traditionally been SSL offload. The reason is the physical NetScaler comes with an SSL offload card. So you've got an actual ASIC processor doing all of your encryption and decryption for you. Okay? However, with NetScaler 12, they're actually going in and enhancing the way that they do the encryption and decryption and improving the SSL performance. So whether you're doing a hardware NetScaler or an a virtual appliance, you're going to go in and actually see some increases in the SSL capabilities. The example that I put up here was the virtual appliance. You've got a 1 gig virtual appliance NetScaler. So you're going to download that, put that on your hypervisor of choice, and it does a gigabit of throughput for load balancing, content switching, whatever else you want. Okay? In the older versions, we would have said that that device would have been hitting the CPU to do encryption and decryption, and been limited to about 1,000 SSL transactions per second. Okay? Once you upgrade to NetScaler version 12 and the enhancements they've made to this capability, you're going to go in and see that at about 3,300. Okay? So that's over a 3 times increase in SSL capability. Okay? That's just one example. All the numbers will be a little bit different, so they may be a little bit less, a little bit more. Going to go in and affect your hardware and your software versions of the NetScaler, and really go in and increase that capability of being able to do SSL offload. So I know a lot of people, that's something that has been a little bit lacking, so they go in and kind of overbuy their NetScaler to go in and bump up their SSL capability. Now you're going to go in and reap that all the way down with a pretty significant increase. Okay? So some nice changes are made at the firmware level that's going to go in and improve that functionality. Yeah. Now, here's a fact that I was not necessarily aware of until I started digging into this. They announced that they're coming out with NetScaler version 12, and one of the big things is the NetScaler is going to be available as a 64-bit version. Okay? So I'm scratching my head and saying, well, I assumed that the NetScaler was a 64-bit appliance, and I assumed incorrectly. Okay? We start going back to the 9.x days, and there was a big discussion about single core and multi-core. And yes, we started rolling out physical NetScalers that were multi-core, but if you're using the classic core version of the NetScaler, you're only utilizing really a single core on it. It wasn't until we got to 9.2 and they came out with what's called in-core that we started to be able to take advantage of that. Didn't really dawn on me that yes, we went to multi-core, but with a 32-bit operating system. Now, does that really affect anything? No. And so the old adage of if it's not broke, don't fix it has really applied. So we got NetScaler 9.3, 10.0, 10.1, 10.5, 11.0, and 11.1. All of these are 32-bit versions of the NetScaler. Okay? Now, is there anything wrong with that? Absolutely not. Okay? And so those versions of the NetScaler have done great. And so moving into the 12.x era, that is still the de facto standard. So if you go in and get a firmware update, what's going to be available to you in your MyCitrix account is a 32-bit version of the NetScaler. Okay? The big thing is, and everybody that knows about computing understands 32-bit limits you to 4 gigs of RAM per core. And while that's not an actual limitation for most of our NetScaler functionality, there are a couple of things that we might do that does become a limitation. Okay? Just give you an example, if you want to do integrated caching, okay, you're setting aside memory on the NetScaler to store objects and fetch them out of cache. We do that as part of our application acceleration. Okay? If you've taken a NetScaler advanced class, we go in and talk about exactly how to roll that out. Okay? We work with some limited scaled down websites to go in and do that, nothing really big. If you're a huge environment, however, the amount of stuff you cache on the NetScaler, that 4 gig limit might be a problem. Okay? Another thing, if you start working with admin parts, separate out your code from a separate partitions code. Okay? One of the things you do when you create that partition is set aside space in memory for all the things you're going in and doing. Once again, your NetScaler can be limited based off of how much RAM it has, and in this case, how much RAM it can address. Okay? So if you ever run into those bottlenecks, you can upgrade to a 64-bit version of the code. You do have to open a support ticket with Citrix support, and they will go in and make that available to you. But this 12.0 version is the first time that we actually get access to that. Okay? Another exciting thing that's coming down the road is some changes to licensing. Okay? What we've traditionally done is we've gone in and they've created SKUs for different products. So if you want a 10 meg NetScaler, there's a product that they will sell you. You want a 20 meg NetScaler, there's a product that they will sell you. You want gigabit, you want 3 gigabits. Now, they've actually gone in and increased that. So if you've looked at some of the NetScalers that have come out in the past year, they're no longer limited to that 3 gig bottleneck. So now you can get a 10, 20, 40, all the way up to 100 gig VPX. And the problem is, in a virtualized environment, we go in and allocate and reallocate all the time. So yes, I may need a 3 gig NetScaler now. I may only need a 1 gig NetScaler later. Okay? Or, everybody I'm sure has heard about the cloud, okay, moving to AWS or the Microsoft Azure platform. And what happens is you might go in and say, yeah, I need a 3 gig NetScaler now, but what happens when we move everything to the cloud and I need higher capabilities there? Okay? And so Citrix is going in and addressing this. So they're going to go in and start doing, giving you the ability to purchase pooled bandwidth. So you can go in and say, I need 40 gigs of NetScaler bandwidth. You set that up on a server, and then instead of having a 3 gig or a 1 gig NetScaler, you have a NetScaler. And then you go in and use a check-in, check-out process to go in and say, give me 3 gigs of available bandwidth. And then you check that out of your pool. And then as you migrate or as you scale up, you can go in and pull and repull from that pool and allocate that bandwidth wherever. You can go ahead and split it between physical and virtual. You can split it between on-premise and cloud. Okay? And so our ability to go ahead and create an environment and scale it up is going to be greatly increased here. Okay? Also, you see that that is made possible using the MAS appliance. Some neat stuff that we'll talk about here in a minute related to what that is. Yeah? Another big piece of the Citrix puzzle is the CPX. Okay? I mentioned traditional NetScalers. You get these as a MPX. You get them as a VPX for either hardware or virtualization. You've got SDX to combine that. So you're buying a physical box from Citrix and then virtualizing and allocating instances as needed. Okay? CPX is something that they've rolled out recently, which is a containerized NetScaler. It uses the Docker approach to go in, mount that in a Linux container, and get most of your NetScaler functionality. The goal for this is not necessarily to be something that replaces your core NetScaler, but it's designed to go in and give you core NetScaler functionality, usually at the dev phase of the environment. So now you can go in and do all the cool NetScaler stuff within a container without having to be a full-blown NetScaler admin. Okay? So what they do is they give you all of the features of the standard edition without the SSL VPN. So if you want to do load balancing, content switching, rewrite, responder, any of that cool stuff that we do with the NetScaler can now be done as part of the dev process. Okay? Now, does that mean everybody's going to dump their NetScalers and go with this? No. What it's doing is it's bridging the gap between developing a raw application and then trying to load balance it. And now you can go in and develop that application with load balancing and NetScaler functionality just available on the fly. Okay? Simplify some of the networking to go in and make it easier to swallow for developers, and makes it very easy to go in and say, okay, I need this NetScaler, I need certain functionality, and then be able to get it without having to be a full-blown NetScaler admin that goes in and knows how to set up the traditional MPX and VPX and SDX. And then you're going to see certain cases where people will go in and migrate. So they say, yeah, we're going to load balance. Here's how we go in and migrate that to a traditional. Or you're going to see a hybrid approach where we keep our traditional NetScaler functionality and we add this in on the back end to improve the application functionality. So a lot of neat stuff that we can go in and do. Also available in a couple of different editions. They've got a free Express version. Lets you go in and have NetScaler functionality up to 20 megabits of throughput. They can also do a licensed version that'll give you a gigabit. And then there's some SSL limitations that go along with that. So exciting stuff that they brought about with the new version of that. You can get the 12.0 version of it and pretty much have full NetScaler functionality without the gateway. Got a little bit of a learning curve to that, but it's designed to go in and help out developers be able to bridge the gap between stuff we can do with a NetScaler and stuff they can do just as a raw application. Now, what is Citrix doing for us as NetScaler admins? And there's a lot of neat things going on. Okay? If you're not aware of this, you've got a really awesome tool called Command Center. We've used this for many generations of NetScalers for being able to go in and consolidate management to say, here's our environment, here's our NetScalers, what's working, what's not working, let's roll out configs and do all sorts of neat stuff. So as a management tool, they've given us Command Center. Okay? As a monitoring tool and an analytics tool, they've given us Insight Center. Okay? It's a standalone virtual client, put on your hypervisor of choice, tell it where your NetScalers are, go in and select certain objects, and be able to go in and view traffic statistics about what's going on. We've traditionally used this with web and HDX. So if you're doing ICA proxy or your load balancing website, great information that's available. The 11.1 version of the NetScaler and 11.1 Insight allows us to go in and look at gateway as full SSL VPN, as well as security. So if you're doing the app firewall, that's another thing that we cover in some of our advanced NetScaler training. You go in and roll out the app firewall, you want to see security threats, violations, as well as how protected are we. And this has been a great product for being able to go in and do that. Yeah? Now, Citrix has announced that those are going to go end of life. Yeah? And what they've done is they've consolidated them into the management and the analytics system. Okay? So this came out last year in the 11.1 version. Obviously, it's been updated for the 12.0 version. It is a standalone virtual appliance. You bring it into your environment. You tell it about your NetScalers, and then it gives you management. Okay? What's working, what's not working, what's up, what's down, all from one central location. Okay? Also gives you the ability to roll out configs. So we can go in and we can create templates and deploy all sorts of common configurations using this management tool. From the analytics side, everything that we can do with Insight Center is a part of the MAS appliance. In fact, that's where the analytics come from. So all the cool stuff that I mentioned, you're going to be able to go and get from this tool. And so the idea is a single management appliance that's going to give you management and analytics of everything that you're doing NetScaler related. Got some really neat stuff that they've put in there. Some people are kind of worried about getting rid of the older versions, and they say, well, those were free. Now this is an appliance you have to pay for. Well, the nice thing is they are really positioning this as a tool that you're not going to be able to live without. Okay? It will do a lot of this stuff for free, just like the old versions did. It also does a lot of synergistic stuff that you're going to want to pay for, make your life easier, make monitoring, analytics, and all of that available at your fingertips. So a lot of neat stuff that we've got coming with the MAS appliance. Yeah. Now, here's the fun stuff. This has been an awesome era of the NetScaler Gateway. Okay? If you're not aware of it, the NetScaler Gateway has been around forever. We used to have the Access Gateway Enterprise Edition. In the 10.1 version, we kind of changed the name of it to the NetScaler Gateway. But what it's done is it's provided us a full SSL VPN component, provides us clientless access, so if we need to do portals and things like that, we can. Also gives us ICA proxy. So if you're doing Zen app, Zen desktop, and you want remote access, the NetScaler Gateway has gone in and made that possible. Okay? If you're not familiar with it, in the 11.0 version, they go in and throw in this marketing term called the Unified Gateway. And the idea is being able to consolidate remote access into what we can do with the NetScaler Gateway. So that now it's more than just our traditional three functionalities. Okay? What they've done is they've brought in the ability to go in and use the Unified Gateway to present a single URL, a single point of authentication, and then all sorts of stuff behind it. Zen app, Zen desktop, enterprise and SaaS applications, single sign-on to those resources. They've brought in a wizard to go in and help you with this, okay? To go in and make this deployment a whole lot easier. And so there's a lot of neat stuff that they've gone in and made available with this mantra of the Unified Gateway, okay? And they've also gone in and brought in some other stuff. Okay? First of all, with your NetScaler Gateway, they go in and let you customize it a whole lot easier. Okay? Customizing the gateway is not fun or easy in the traditional sense. Once you get to 11.0, Citrix has made this really neat. I'll actually be able to go in and demo this for you and show you something that takes me about an hour on a 10.5 NetScaler. We'll do it in a couple of minutes. Okay? Another thing they brought in, RDP proxy. Okay? What you traditionally do is you set up a VPN solution. You allow users to VPN into the environment, and then they can RDP to internal resources. Now, we can use the gateway to be able to go and provide that functionality. Okay? You come into the gateway, I provide you links to stuff, go in and have access. Okay? Multi-factor authentication, two-factor authentication has been something we can do for a long time. In-factor means we go in and actually can structure this. Okay? Who are you? Are you a janitor and all you need access to is a basic functionality? I'll ask you for a username and password. Are you an engineer and you've got access to a lot of high-level stuff? I'm going to need a username, a password, and some type of token. Okay? And so I can go in and actually set up multiple functionalities and multiple factors of authentication based off of who you are. Okay? Also, PC over IP. Okay? Those of you guys familiar with that, you know that that is VMware. Okay? This is a Citrix presentation, Citrix NetScaler, but some people are using VMware. Guess what? You can now use your NetScaler Gateway in the 12.0 version for being able to do remote access for PC over IP. So we've got ICA proxy, you got RDP proxy. We're going to do the same thing with PC over IP to be able to provide remote access for VMware. Okay? So a lot of neat stuff that's come about in the recent versions of the NetScaler. Okay? I want to go in and show you kind of what this looks like. So what I've got diagrammed up here is your traditional NetScaler gateway and kind of what that looked like. And the idea was We went in and created this on the NetScaler. We gave it an IP address. We brought users in. We did authentication, authorization. We did a session policies and profiles to control what this does. Okay? In the 11.0 and newer version, we've got a unified gateway, which goes in and does a lot more. Okay? So it's going to go in and set up a content switching virtual server. So it'll leverage content switching, very mature functionality of the NetScaler. Just in the 11.0 version, it's set up to be able to go in and identify interesting traffic and send it different places, which is traditionally load balancers. Now it could include a gateway. And so we can go in and have a single URL and a single IP address and be able to do all of our gateway stuff, which you'll remember is full SSL VPN, ICA proxy, or clientless access. We can also go in and provide other enterprise and SaaS applications. So if you want to provide access to Exchange or OWA or SharePoint or anything like that, this gives you a single remote access portal to be able to go in and make that possible. Yeah. If you want to see what this looks like, what I've got is I've got a couple of different things here. Okay. If you're not familiar with it, this is the NetScaler 11.0 version. Okay. So let's me log in here. Just the basic config. This is kind of what it looks like. Very similar to what we had 10.5 wise. Menu-wise over here, this goes back to like the 10.0 version. The big difference is 11.0, we're Java free. Everything that you want to do configuration-wise is going to go in and be driven by HTML5. Okay? So for those of you guys that have had issues with Java, once you get to 11.0, we are Java free. Okay? This is the 12.0 version of the NetScaler. Okay? Very similar menu system, just a little bit different, and some of the things moved around a little bit. Okay? And so you'll go in and see core functionality pretty much stays the same. That's the nice thing about the NetScaler is it's a very additive product. So we've been doing load balancing forever, and it may have changed from older versions, but core functionality is intact. Okay? So server objects, services, tie them together, we still go in and do that. Okay? For those that have done the NetScaler Gateway or the Access Gateway, it is still here. So you can go in and roll out the NetScaler Gateway, and you can stand up the NetScaler Gateway using that tool. Okay? Or you can go in and take advantage of the new Unified Gateway. Okay? And what the Unified Gateway is going to do is it's going to go in and provide you a wizard. Okay? Here it shows you what I just illustrated. Users come in, content switching, gateway, load balancers, and all the things that we need remote access for. Okay? And then you can go in and step through this wizard and create a unified gateway. And this actually becomes very, very easy to go in and do. You'll see that it gives you a 5-step wizard. Just answer the questions. Okay? How are users coming in? Great. What am I going to do certificate-wise? Got a wildcard cert on here for my domain. Great. Okay? How do I authenticate users when they come into the gateway? And you've got all your options for how you want to do authentication. You just go in and say, do it this way. Awesome. Here's portal themes. Okay? In the past, you roll out a gateway and they all look the same. Yours was the same as mine, was the same as everybody else's. And then it was a nightmare to go in and change them. Now, they've actually got some of these baked in. Okay? So you've got the default one. This is the black screen that we traditionally work with, black and blue. Here you've got green bubbles. So if you're doing storefront 2.x, we can make our gateway look like that. Here's X1. If you're doing storefront 3.x, we can go in and match those together and make that look the same. Okay? I'll just stick with the default here. We'll change it later. And then it says application. What do you really want to happen behind this unified gateway? Okay? And then if I don't go in and specify anything, I get pretty much a generic gateway. Okay? If you need to kind of see what that looks like, okay? I put this in place, ran through it, set it up. What it's done for me is it's created a content switching virtual server. Okay? Put the IP address that I configured in here. So this is actually what the user is connected to. And then when you come in, it's going to hand you off to a gateway. And then this is the exact same gateway that we've been setting up on NetScaler for NetScaler 8, 9, 10, and so on. Okay? So all of my remote access capability is here and doing the exact same thing it's always done. So this is where I control authentication. This is where I go in and control authorization. This is where I go in and control behavior. Okay? You'll also see portal theme can be controlled here. Okay? So all sorts of neat stuff to go in and control exactly how this plays out. Okay? If I want to go and see what this looks like, this is what I set up. Okay? Now, this one I did kind of pre-create it, so a little bit of smoke and mirrors. But if you ran through the wizard and you had an FQDN that tied to that IP address, this is what you would get. Okay? And then it's already set up for LDAP. So if I put in an LDAP credential, it's going to let me log in. This is called the client choices. We've always had this in the NetScaler gateway. What do you want to do? Do you want this to be a full SSL VPN? Great. And so I can go in and say, let's do this. It's got a plugin that it utilizes and then gives me SSL VPN capability. Okay? You'll see it down here in the bottom right, the little lock in the taskbar. That means I've activated my plugin and I've got a full SSL VPN connection to my NetScaler. And so I can go in and access all the stuff sitting behind it. So if I want, guys, private IP address 192.168.30, probably not something you should be able to access when you're sitting at home, but when you're VPN in, sure. Okay? Connect to the NetScaler. NetScaler gives me access to backend resources. Okay? If I want, I can go in and make that available as a clientless access. Okay? And so I can go in and say, I want my user to be able to portal to that resource. And so I can configure what we call bookmarks. So I can go in and say, I want to give you access to stuff, and then be able to define what that is and who gets it. Okay? So I could go in and say, if you are an IT admin, okay, I want you to have access to, and then I can bookmark a URL in here. So you get a specific server. Okay? I could also go in and say, actually, for everybody, if you come into this gateway, you need to be able to have access to that red server. And so I can bind in here, it's called a published application. Okay? But I can go in here and make available a URL. Okay? And say, I want you to go in and have access to the red server. Okay? And so I can go in and put that in place, and then the user comes in, and what they're going to get is they're going to get access to that application. Okay? So very easy to work with bookmarks, provide clientless access, be able to say, let the user come in, let them authenticate. Put this in place. Now they don't need that plugin. Okay? And then I can go in and say, you get access to whatever, and then just provide a link to it, and there we go. Okay? I can go in and do the exact same thing with the Unified Gateway Wizard for certain internal applications. So you saw that I could add in an application using the Unified Gateway. Okay? And what that does is it lets me go in and say, okay, I'd like to provide access to something like an enterprise app or a SaaS application. Okay? And I can use the Unified Gateway to be able to go in and deliver that. Okay? So what I've got here in the lab environment is I've got an Exchange server, which is providing OWA. Okay? And so what I can do is I can say, I'd like my user to authenticate to the gateway, have the option of connecting to OWA, and then be able to get portal to it, all from the same URL that I would do Xenap and Desktop with. Okay? And so I can go in and use the Unified Gateway, come in here and say I'd like to make available an application. Okay? And then be able to say, let's provide access to a clientless access application like this. So okay, that is a URL you should only be able to access if you are on site. I can go in and make it available here. Okay? And so I can plug this in. Oops. Let's give this a label and call it OWA. I can change the icon if I want. And so now I'm able to say, okay, users come in, they get access to OWA and their Exchange email. Yeah? And so for an end user, they can come in, they can connect to the gateway. I think this is an Exchange user. Yeah? They log in, just provide them portal access. They're going to get a shortcut front and center to OWA. And then when they click on it, A, they're going to get a portal to Exchange, and B, they're going to get signed in. So I've used my gateway to unify remote access for several different things. Okay? Also, guys, if you want to do two-factor authentication with this, okay, you can go in and do that. And so how do you provide two-factor authentication to OWA? You can use the gateway. And so what will happen is you go in and say, I'd like users to come in and authenticate two different ways. Okay? Primary authentication, and then I can go in and say, you know, that's going to be LDAP. Secondary authentication, and I could say make them authenticate to Radius. And so I can go in and provide two-factor authentication at my gateway, okay? And then be able to take the credential and pass that through to the back end. Okay? And so this makes it very easy to go in and say, okay, let's ask for two factors of authentication. And then all the stuff that's behind this stays the same. Okay? And so I can now add two-factor authentication to anything that I want portal users to. Okay? So really nice functionality. Also, guys, you'll see my two-factor authentication. It decided to go in and call it password and password 2. My users are not going to know what that is. Okay? Chances are your users are not either. Only the person that configured this is actually going to know the difference between a password and a password 2. Okay? If you want to go in and change those labels, it's going to take about an hour. You're going to have to go in and hack apart your NetScaler, find the code, change those, upload it, write some scripts, and then do it all again if you've got an HA pair. Or use NetScaler 11 or newer. Okay? It provides you a portal theme. Very easy for me to go in and create my own theme. Okay? And I'll do this based off of like the X1 interface, so make it look like storefront. So I can put this in place. Great. It's going to go in and expose all of the different GUI elements of the gateway. Okay? So I'm going to give you a legend here. What are we talking about? We can go in and change navigation, content, all of that stuff. All those settings are exposed. Very easy to go in and make changes. Okay? In my case, I'll jump through here. Should get this set up. And then over here on the right, it says login page. And so it says what shows up in the title bar. Okay? I can go in and change that. Throw my initials in there. So this is my NetScaler gateway. I'm going to say, please log in instead of log on. I'm going to make username one word. And then I'm going to ask you for your Windows password. And then I'm going to ask you for your token ID. Okay? And so I just go in and change these labels as a part of my portal theme. And then all I need to do is go to my unified gateway or my gateway virtual server and switch that out. Okay? So it comes up, it says, here's your portal theme. Okay? It's doing default. I'll say, actually use my custom theme. And it's changed. Very straightforward, very easy. Now the user comes in, they get a different look and feel, says they're logging into my NetScaler, I've got my wording, I've got my labels, and that's done. Like I said, probably about an hour process on some of the older NetScalers. Okay? So a lot of neat stuff that we can go in and do. You've also got the ability to go in and do monitoring and management. So if you've never played around with it, there is the Insight Center. I said this is going to be replaced with the NAS appliance. Architecture-wise, it'll be identical. So you can go in and stand this up. You connect to it through a web browser. You go in and look at your inventory of what's available. And so it'll go in and show you your NetScalers. It'll show you your load balancers. And you can say, I want statistics on this stuff. You can go in and say, I want information on my VPN. And then from your dashboard, you can go in and have this give you web statistics. You can have it give you insight statistics. So what are we looking at? ICA, bandwidth, latency, all of that good stuff. Who is coming into my gateway, all sorts of things right here. Okay? If you go to the 11.1 version of this is the 11.0 version, but 11.1 and 12.0 will add in the SSL VPN piece. So what are we talking about SSL VPN wise? It'll also add in the security insight. So how heavily attacked are my websites and how well protected am I? So if you're using the app firewall, you get some management capability there. Going to be identical whether you're using 11.1 or 12.0 Insight or the new NAS appliance. Okay? Also, guys, and I'm real big about preaching this, this is Director. If you're a XenApp and Xen desktop guy, this is your monitoring and management tool. Okay? And it goes in and allows you to see who is connected to what Citrix-wise. Okay? You've also got the NetScaler, you've also got the Insight or the NAS appliance that I just told you about. If you've got all those moving pieces, tie them together. And then what you can do is you can use the monitoring and management and have it be able to show you what the user is connected to on the back end. You can also go in and use it to give you the insight information network-wise as well. So what is this user consuming bandwidth-wise? What channels are they consuming? And so you can dig into a user session and actually see some really valuable information all in one place. Okay? So some really neat statistics and things that are available when we tie everything together. Speaking of tying everything together, you guys know that we use the gateway and ICA proxy to go in and connect externally to XenApp and Desktop. Okay? Why did I save this for last? Well, probably because we save the best for last. Going in and telling my gateway that I would like it to do ICA proxy, little bit of a headache. You're going in and having to create some session policies, create some session profiles to tie everything together. Not anymore. Okay? Let me go in and adjust my authentication here. I'll get rid of two-factor authentication and go back to just single factor. Okay? And then down here, you've got session policies and session profiles to go in and determine how your gateway is going to behave. And you used to have to go in and create those manually to say, let's do ICA proxy. Okay? Now Citrix gives you the unified gateway. And so you can go in and say, I would like my unified gateway to tie in with, and then we're talking about applications down here. The biggest application that Citrix is going to support is going to be theirs. I want to tie in with XenApp and Desktop. I've got a storefront server. I've got resources back there. Make this available to me. Okay? And so then it just asks you flat out what your environment looks like. Okay? And so this is where you can go in and say, I would like to have my users connect to, and then I've got a storefront server. Okay? And then you can go in and say, okay, this is exactly what I've got back here. Okay? It says, what is the name of your domain? Where are your STAs? Okay? I've actually got two of these. Okay? And I can go in and set this up, and what it will do is it will go in and just basically give me a wizard that goes in and knows what's going on the back end, how I need to set up my access to it, and what they need access to. In the previous version of this, it actually went in and asked all sorts of questions, and then it actually did your load balancing for you. Now, what it really does is goes in and gives you probably about 20 or 30 minutes worth of work at creating policies and profiles. Okay? So we want to do ICA proxy. Here's the settings for it, okay? Or the policies for it. Here's the settings to go in and make it happen. And it ties all that together so that the user comes in, they should be able to get access to XenApp and Xen Desktop through the unified gateway. Okay? And so now when a user comes in, we'll use this guy. Okay? And then it should say, do you want full SSL VPN? Do you want clientless access? And then I don't really have everything configured here, but it does go in and say there's a XenApp and Xen Desktop behind here. Would you like access to it? And then it will portal me to Storefront. It will authenticate me to Storefront. when I have that set up correctly. And then it will enumerate my resources. I haven't gone in and actually configured the storefront side to say users are coming in through a gateway, but I've gone in and I've simplified how I do this on the NetScaler. That is available once you get to the 11.0 version. Unified gateway, be able to tie in with your Citrix environment, and it goes in and makes this a whole lot easier. And so now you've got a unified remote access solution. You want to add remote desktop to this? You can. You go to the 12.0 version, you've got VMware back there. You can go in and add that in as well. And so a lot of really neat functionality for remote access consolidated down into this one platform. So a lot of neat stuff that we've had for quite a while, being presented with a nice GUI interface, a lot of additional functionality to go in and help reduce some of our overall infrastructure that we've had to put in place in the past. So guys, I know I've talked for quite a bit here, so kind of wrapping it up, what I'll do is I'll turn it over to Rich and field any questions that you guys have.
Hey, thanks, Matthew. So we do have a couple of questions that I'll read out loud, and Matthew, hopefully you can answer these. So the first question is regarding, is the SSL performance of a physical NetScaler faster than a virtual NetScaler?
Great question, and the answer on that is going to be yes. For instance, if you go in and look at, let's just say a 1 gig NetScaler, you can buy a 1 gig VPX. It will say how much SSL transactions per second it can do, and that's going to be significantly less than the equivalent 1 gig piece of hardware. The reason is, anytime you're buying a physical NetScaler, it has a hardware SSL offload card, and so you will always get enhanced performance. The nice thing is, moving forward, we're really going to go in and step up that capability. So you'll see some big gains there. And then you're also going to see that on the hardware. So is it going to make the software appliance faster than the hardware? No, but it's going to make both of them much more efficient and really step up the SSL side of performance. But the hardware will always outperform the VPX.
Okay, thank you. Matthew, I'm not sure what context that this question was asked, but the question is, are you able to publish a URL similar to how you do it in XenApp Zen Desktop?
Good question. Yes and no. The idea is that in XenApp Zen Desktop, we used to bring users in, and they used to authenticate. We used to be able to have, we call it content. We publish apps, desktops, or content, which was a URL to something within my environment. That becomes a little bit harder in the modern XenApp Zen Desktop context. But no, we could totally go in and do that with the gateway. You've got an internal intranet site you want users to have access to. Go in and set up the gateway, go in and publish a URL, call it clientless access, and then the user comes in, they can be portaled to that portal page and see a link for whatever your URL is. And so yes, we can go in and make that work. You're just doing it on the gateway side, not on the XenApp Zen Desktop side.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next question. Let's see. They're starting to come in now. I'll do my best to read these out here. So you showed how Moz does monitoring. Does it also do central management?
Yes, the management and the analytics piece. I don't have a command center to kind of show you what traditional management looks like, but the general idea is I want a single pane of glass into my environment. Okay? If I've got 12 NetScalers and one service goes down, I have to actually go in and look on 12 different NetScalers to find what service that is. Using the management piece of the Maz appliance lets me go in and see all services, all servers, all virtual server or load balancing virtual servers, and content switching across all NetScalers. So now I got 12 NetScalers and 12 NetScalers worth of services and their states. And so it's very easy to go in and see the monitoring of those things. Very easy to go and do the management. Great management example here. certificates. Okay? We got certificates on all of our NetScalers. Eventually, they're going to expire. I would like to know when that happens. The MAS appliance makes it easy for me to see all certificates across all NetScalers and expirations. And then B, once they expire, I need to update them. Once again, I can go in and update from one place and say, here's the new certificate, here's the new key, push it out to a NetScaler or all 12 NetScalers, make it happen. And then that goes in and consolidates my management, makes it very easy to go in and do things. If you're talking about organic management, I need to do load balancing of application X. They've got some really neat ways of going in and doing this. So we can use style books where it asks you the question, what do you want to load balance? What is the backend resource? What is the protocol? What do you want the front end to be? What's the IP address? And then you say, make it happen. Or if they don't have a style book for something that's going to work for you, you can create your own templates. So you can go in and say, okay, I need to load balance some random stuff. I do this often enough. Let me create a template, answer some questions, and fill in the blank, and have the MAS appliance go in and do it. So 1 NetScaler, 10 NetScalers, all, some, however we want to sort that out. So yes, as a management tool and consolidated management and monitoring of objects and NetScalers, it is a great resource for that.
Okay, excellent. Matthew, what's happening with Insight Center?
Okay, the Insight Center, the actual standalone appliance, that's going to go end of life. I believe that's like scheduled for sometime next year. Are people losing their jobs because of this? No. The people that develop that product have integrated it into the MAS appliance. So everything that we love about Insight is what we love about the MAS appliance. Everything that we loved about Command Center is what we're going to love about the MAS appliance. Okay? So the functionalities are pretty much one-to-one. Yeah, there's some weird things here and there. The interface is a little bit different, but everything that we like about Insight, we're going to get from the MAS appliance. Everything we liked about Command Center, we're going to get on the MAS appliance. So moving forward, it's going to be one product. It's going to be all the same capabilities, the analytics, the management. It's just going to be under a new product name. And in some cases, it's going to be easier to deploy. Stand up the appliance, go in and tell it, here's your NetScaler, and then you've got management and analytics all from one tool. Okay? So as a standalone appliance, they're going to get rid of that in favor of the consolidated MAS appliance.
Okay, excellent. I'm going to merge a couple of questions into one because they're regarding the same topic. So can you speak a little bit to the stability of 12.0 since it's a .0 release, and also a little bit about how easy or difficult the migration is from 11 to 12?
Okay, great. Probably two things here, okay? First of all, in general, my recommendation is to be very careful about upgrading to the latest version, okay? Obviously, there's some cool stuff in 12 that I would like to show off. So yeah, I'm going to go in and use that, okay? If I'm talking about production, is it really ready for prime time? Probably not, okay? You are going to have some core functionality that's just core functionality. So if you're just doing load balancing, that's going to work pretty much any version of the NetScaler that you use. Some of the new stuff, yeah, it may be a little updates before you go in and adopt it. So NetScaler 11.1, 6 months ago, people said, would you use this? I might be a little bit hesitant. Now, very mature product, I don't have a problem saying use 11.1. 12.0, new thing on the block, is it ready for prime time? Probably not. Okay? Now, if you go in and roll out something like ShareFile or Zen Mobile, it might dictate, hey, you need a specific version, then yeah, you're going to go to it. Okay? But as far as does everybody need to go in and upgrade immediately, probably not. Look at the feature that you want and how well developed it is. Okay? Now, with that being said, my other recommendation is always to stair-step your way from one version to the next. So those of you guys that are using 11.0, I would recommend upgrading to 11.1. Okay? If your goal is I need 12.0 and I need it now, I'm still going to say go from 11.0 to 11.1, and then I'm going to say go from 11.1 to 12.0. The reason is as you do that, any changes that they make get sanitized. So 11.1 will sanitize your 11.0 code, and then 12.0 will sanitize your 11.1 code. if you take a huge jump and you go from old version to newest version, sometimes you miss some of those steps. And so I usually recommend kind of stair-stepping your way through that process instead of taking the whole leap. Now, if you've got a fresh version of the NetScaler and you just spin up a 9.3 NetScaler, sure. Take the 9.3 NetScaler, it doesn't have any config on it, upgrade it to 12.0, and then you can start from there. Okay? In the future, protect that config by going one version to the next. Great questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're not going to have time to get through all of these, and so if you submitted a question and we didn't get to it, what we're going to do is we're going to email you individually, and we will answer those questions via email. So don't worry, we'll still get back to you. I think we probably have time for just one more, Matthew. This is a question about so the question is, did you mention a free version of Moz? What are the limitations? And let's see. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, great question there. Traditionally with Insight, you haven't really had any limitations in terms of what you're monitoring. Same thing with Command Center. The Maz appliance, you can should be a free download. So if you are a registered NetScaler user, you should be able to go in and download the Maz appliance and put that in your environment. Okay? The limitations when it comes to some of the management capabilities and monitoring, they're going to be limited to 30 VIP addresses. Okay? And so if you're a smaller organization or if you're just doing the gateway, then the free appliance is going to work great for you. Okay? If Insight was monitoring 20 or 30 things for you, switching over to the Maz appliance should be able to go in and do that. Okay? Down the road, the monitoring and management and scalability of it, they will go in and sell you additional VIP access to be able to monitor 100 VIPs, 200 VIPs, or 1,000 VIPs, depending on your organization. Okay? So you can get the free version. You can go and control what it manages and be able to watch 30 VIP addresses without any problems. Okay? So it'll do everything that it traditionally did with that.
Okay, thanks, Matthew. Okay, we are officially out of time, and sorry that we weren't able to get to all the questions, but please know that we are going to respond to your question that you submitted. Again, I wanted to remind everyone that the webinar has been recorded. So we will send a follow-up email with a link to the recording, and we will also email you about future webinars that we're going to be running. We try to run one about once a month on various topics. We really appreciate your time in joining the webinar today. I want to thank Matthew for taking time out of his class today. And we appreciate your business, and thanks again, and have a great afternoon.